Namaste everyone. Myself Chanakya Simha. I'm a yoga therapist, graduated from SYSA Yoga University from Bangalore. So today I will be taking the session about the traditional way of asana and pranayama.
Yoga, 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 yoga. आओ मेरे दोस्तों हम अपनाएं yoga.
So the first, what is the mean of traditional way of asana and pranayama? We will focus here on the traditional way. The traditional way means, am I audible to everyone, right? Clear? Yeah. So first, what we mean by the traditional way. So the field we are in is the yoga, and the yoga asanas and pranayama, meditation, and all the kind of yogic practices have been introduced into our lives and introduced into ourselves, not just by like in the modern age or from the YouTube or from which we hear from others, but it came into our lives and it came into existence way past before, from years ago, like ages ago, centuries ago, from the so-called, we call them munis, rishis, sages. We have the yoga has been extracted from there. And the quiet example we can give for yoga, existence of yoga, is Bhagavad Gita, where the Bhagavad Gita has been taught by Lord Sri Krishna in the era of Dwapara Yuga, in between the war between the Kauravas and Pandavas, right? So there he teaches about the yoga. So if we follow what he taught, or if we follow what the sages and Muni taught in way before existence of our this modern age, that is considered as traditional, where we follow the books, the original scriptures or the origin scriptures of yoga is considered as traditional way and traditional method. Later on what happened, it became modernized, it became modified, all the practices have been modified and came here till our hand, where we change the posture or change the practice according to ourselves. But there will be something, the root. If we exactly follow the root way, it gives more effect and it is more efficient, like that. So first we concentrate on asanas. So the first part is yogasana. What do you mean by yogasana? In the general, what do we mean by yogasana? Okay, doing some kind of posture or going into a pose. But the scriptures like Patanjali Yoga Sutra, in the sutras of Patanjali, there is a concise definition of yogasana. There is a definition. It is called as Sthiram Sukham Asana. So sage Patanjali in sutras, he says that Sthiram Sukham Asana. What does it mean? It means that position which is comfortably and steady. The Sthiram Sukham Asana means that position which is comfortably and steady. He considered yogasana as this. If a position or in any position or any posture we are, it should be stable and comfortable. It's not like to strain much, or it not we put full of effort to maintain it and taking the stress in. No, it is, he considers, he says, Lord Sage Patanjali says here that if you maintain a posture comfortably and steadily, it is considered as asana. So in this context, what happens, the asana are mostly practiced to develop the ability to sit comfortably in a position, mostly for an extended period, for a long time. But according to Patanjali, the Raja Yoga, mostly as Raja Yoga equates a posture is nothing but sitting position. Most of the Raja Yoga speaks about the sitting posture. So here Sage Patanjali means that you sit for a long time without moving and without exhausting yourself. That means you have to be comfortable and you should be enjoying the posture. If you're not enjoying the posture, then that means you're just taking more stress into your body or more stress into your mind. Here what the Sage Patanjali says about the sitting posture or the sitting position. But later on, and as the Hatha Yogis came, where the Hatha Yogis have found a certain specific body positions, not just sitting posture, but also specific body positions. They're called as asanas, which also helps in opening the energy channels and psychic centers in our body. Okay, what are the energy channels and psychic centers? If we focus on that, mostly the energy channels and psychic centers, for example, the chakras or the nadis in our body are considered as that. So don't get confused by these psychic centers and the energy channels. That they are nothing but the chakras and our nadis which are existing in our body. Later on, these hatha yogis have found that the developing control of the body. So we can control our body through various practices which enable to control the mind. So by controlling our body first, then we will control our mind. So what they meant is nothing but simple. You control your body first in order to control your mind the next. Later, yogasanas became higher tools to higher awareness, providing stable foundation necessary for exploration of our body, breath, mind, and higher states, and like higher levels, in the more conscious levels. For this reason, asanas come first in hatha yoga. So what they mean is hatha yoga, according to hatha yoga, what they mean, they keep every time asanas in the first place, as in Yoga Sutras, Patanjali Yoga Sutras. We start with yama, niyama, ashtanga yoga, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama. But wherein hatha yoga, the asana has been kept first. Why? Because the basic existence of our life is in our body. So this physical level is what keeps our body alive or keeps our body in functioning. So this is the grosser level, mana kantiki kanipichedi, which is in vision of our eyes. So first control this body, because this body has many things, senses. Senses works in the body level, where these senses crave for more sensual pleasures. So for that, you first get in the control of your body, then go for the mind and energy. So later on, yoganas, as I told you, yogasanas became very higher tools. Then in scriptures, okay, when it comes, we have many scriptures for yoga: Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Gheranda Samhita, Shiva Samhita, Patanjali Yoga Sutras. Most of the scriptures we have for yoga and yogasanas also, where they say, the Rishis and Munis says, it was exactly 84 lakhs of asanas in yogic scriptures. These asanas are believed that these asanas, 84 lakhs of asanas, we have 84 lakh of asanas. We don't even know 84 asanas properly, right? But why do we have 84 lakhs? What is the reason behind it? So there's a great reason behind these 84 lakhs of asanas, that they say 84 lakh incarnations. Understand the meaning of the incarnation, right? 84 lakhs, 84 లక్షల జీవితాలు అనుకోవచ్చు, లేదా అవతారాలు అనుకోవచ్చు. We can also mean it as 84 lakhs of births. So to attain liberation point, every soul or each individual has to go all the way through 84 lakh incarnations. So all these asanas also replaces these 84 lakh incarnations. So they say every individual must pass through before attaining the liberation. Liberation means moksha here. So before attaining this liberation from the cycle of birth and death, everyone should pass through 84 lakh asanas. And down through ages, the rishis and yogis modified and they reduced into a few hundreds, which are known today. But in that, mostly what we focus on are 84 asanas, which are mostly discussed. So finally here, we spoke about 84 lakh asanas, and from there, luckily our sages, they know that we can't take all these 84 asanas into ourselves, and we can't do them, and we don't even learn them. We just will skip out of this mind, because we became so lazy in this age. So what they understood that thing, and they just modified most of the postures, they modified most of the practices, asanas, and they made it into a few hundreds. And from those hundreds, 84 asanas, which are mostly we discuss nowadays. And they couldn't reduce more down because minimum it should be there. They made it to 1% from 84 lakhs. At least 1% we should master. I hope everyone knows them. But if anybody knows, please let me know. Even I don't know all the 84 asanas, but try to get to know. Go with the all the various kind of scriptures, various kind of sources of yogic knowledge. Then you will get. So through the practice of these asana, it is possible to keep the karmic side, the karmic process as a side by. So there is a trick. Let me tell you one thing. So, okay, to reach moksha, we have to go 84 lakhs of births and deaths. Oh my God, that's a very long process to reach that level. So what yogis and rishis they did, they created 84 lakh asanas. And if you do these 84 lakh asanas, not just by doing them, by learning them, by understanding them, and by mastering all these 84 lakh of asanas, then you may have a chance to skip those 84 lakh of births, the incarnations, and you can directly achieve the moksha. As we know, why we do yoga? I mean, according to spirituality, we do yoga to attain the state of liberation. I mean, to attain the moksha, right? So in generally, what our philosophy says that 84 lakhs of incarnations is need to be taken, and then you will attain the moksha. So here yogis have given a shortcut for us. Master all these postures, all these 84 lakhs, and how many you can master? You may get concession of that many births and cycles. It's a bit it is a bit kind of funny thing, but yes, I have an experience when I have been to Rishikesh recently. I was doing Ashtanga Vinyasa course there, so I met gurus there. As you know, Rishikesh is a place, it is called as capital of yoga in India. So there are most amazing babas, we say babas, gurus and yoga gurus are there. So in them, I met one of a teacher, one of a pranayama teacher and asana teacher who teaches in the proper traditional way. So they used to say, Chanakya, go with a basic level of asanas, master them, and contemplate on the asana. Then you may even have a chance to consist of or remove some of your past bad karmas or your previous life karmas. So these are the karmas which keeps us entangled in bondage. So these can be reduced and you can go for the higher state. So I didn't understand what he meant exactly. Then later on, when I studied some of the books like Hatha Yoga and some of the asana yoga books, then they mentioned these things. So then, okay, that's what he said at that time. So this is what he means. So having a guru like that is a great thing for me. So same thing, the yoga has to be learned under guru, even though an asana, because we don't know what they meant. But just by reading the books, we couldn't understand. By also having experiencing them, we learn much. The same thing also, you have to apply the same rule here, where not just learning the asanas or not just by reading them, we have to practice them. We have to regulate our body into that thing. We have to use our mind and all those things into our body. Okay, let's come back to the postures. So in these 84 lakhs of asanas, and finally we have 84 asanas by the God's grace of our sages. Most of the postures resembles animals. Remember Kukutasana, Bakasana, Shwanasana, Garudasana. These are, apart from humans, these are some other beings considered as animals. They are from animal kingdom. So why do we have these kind of asanas in our traditional? I am a human. I have 2 hands and 2 legs, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth. Why do we have the asanas of animals? How can I don't have a tail? I don't have fur all over my body. Why does they came? Why does they came into existence? The animal postures. Have you ever thought of it? Always remember, the rishis and sages went a lot of observation into this. So they observed the environment, what they do, they always live with the environment. So they observe the animals are also the part of environment. They observe them. So after a long term of observation, they concluded that these animals live, abide with the environment, and they understand the environment and they live. Have you ever seen a snake dying? No. Okay. When a snake knows it is going to die, it goes into hibernation, it coil around itself, and it will sleep silently, then slowly it will die. Do you know when we are going to die? We humans. If okay, suddenly the doctor comes, you are in ICU or somewhere, you're awake, luckily, and the doctor comes near you. If you ask, Chanakya, I'm really sorry, you have only 2 hours left. Is there anything you want to do? What will be my mindset? Oh my God, I'm going to die. నేను చనిపోబోతున్నాను, అయ్యో ఎట్లా, నాకు అది మిగిలింది, it's been very thing I haven't done anything in my life, I have left a lot of things to do. These things we humans imbibe ourselves with all these bondages and with the fear. But whereas the animals, if when they know that they are going to die, natural cause of death, they never agitate, they never go for panic, they never go on rampage. They just become silent. They hide themselves in caves or whatever the place they live, or whichever place it is comfortable. They go there, they close their eyes and they just sleep. They'll try to sleep and peacefully they die. Without a pain, they die. It's a great thing which we have to learn from animals. When they know that they are going to die, they just die peacefully. Where we humans, when we know that we are going to die, we will be like, we will be already in hell before we are going to hell or heaven, if they exist, sorry. So the rishis has understood that animals live in harmony with the environment and with their own bodies. They live in that harmony. And also what they saw, these postures, by reflecting the movements of animals, reflecting the movements of animals and the other creatures or any things which we see, that also does enhances our body level. In a common language, if I tell you in a normal way, we nothing but we resemble ourselves into the animals, and we may get the same powers or same abilities. We can say abilities, not powers exactly, the abilities which that particular animal possess into ourselves. As for example, we will take Garudasana. So everyone knows mostly Garudasana, where we coil our one leg onto another leg and we coil our one arm into another arm. It is a single leg balanced posture. We open our eyes and we look at a particular point, gaze at particular point, we concentrate on that particular point and we try to be stable, steady. What is the power of an eagle? What is the ability of an eagle? It can be height, a lot of height. It travels, sometimes it may travel even above the clouds. When it is raining, the eagle fly above the clouds. It goes that high. It doesn't mean that we are going to fly away. No, there are some other abilities where from that height also, the keen vision of an eagle is very particular. If a mouse is running on the earth and it is on the air, the vision power of the eagle is that high that it can come and it can grab and it can run away with the mouse. We don't get that much, but we can enhance the ability of our vision. Not just the vision, the concentration. Even we can see the mouse running away, but we can't have that concentrated power which the eagle possesses. So what the rishis and munis and yogis have done, by practicing into that posture, by resembling into eagle, we can enhance our abilities, not to reach the exact level of that part, but to at least enhance our abilities of vision to get more good and clear vision. So these things we have to understand. And as I told, the animals live in harmony with the nature, with the environment, with their own bodies. They also protect. It doesn't mean that, okay, You care about others only, don't leave you should care of your body. That is the asana here. You should love your body. You should take care of your body, because that is the tool or the instrument which helps you to attain for higher levels or the higher states. Okay. Okay. Enough of this thing. Then what does actually yogasana mean? Posture, as we already talked. Positions, as we already spoke about. Then why I should do yogasana? I have many things to do. But yogasana, leave the asana from yoga and remember the yoga. Yoga is something with joining. A common definition for yoga. Yoga means joining, combining. The common definition which we learned is combining the Jivatma with Paramatma, right? So we adopt the Chinmudra, remember? Jivatma, Paramatma. So we combine our Jivatma is our individual self with the Paramatma, universal self, right? Supreme soul. The same thing doesn't just work on there only. Yes, it is true, but there are much more things. You can combine yogasana with many things. You can combine yogasana with prana. Remember prana? The prana, which is vital energy, or it can also say the life force which exists in our body, and not only just in our body, it exists in inanimate and animated, means it living things and non-living things also. It has many the prana, the term prana has many other names like energy, and in Chinese they use qi, ki, chi, all these things in Chinese medication things. What this prana is exactly? It is the following flow patterns. It exists in the following flow patterns of a body, which are considered as nadis. We have thousands of nadis in our body. The mainly three which we know are Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. And these nadis are considered as the channels for the energy. These prana, these flow all the way through our nadis to maintain the individual cellular activity. It means kanam kanam, for each and every cell it works there. So where in yogasana these prana flow peacefully, relentlessly, and flow in a way that where it can't be blocked. So how does yogasana work with the prana? What does prana mainly do? It mostly simply, if I tell you, it mostly simply removes the toxin out of your body, and it gives a healthy body to you. Understand? So then, okay, if the prana flows properly, if the prana removes the toxins, then why do we should do asana, right? Here the point comes where the yogasana will help to remove the blockages of prana. Remember, there are many blockages in our body which we are not aware of it. The pranic blockages in terms of our spiritual side, the pranic blockages. It means if your body is filled with tightness, for example, physical level, or some kind of pain, some kind of issue, and you couldn't perform particular asana, that means you have the pranic blockage there. So the regular practice of asana will help to remove these pranic blockages. Then how can we combine it with kundalini? You might have heard the term kundalini, right? Kundalini Shakti, the energy. It mostly relates with chakras. So the ultimate purpose of yoga is awakening the Kundalini Shakti, the evolutionary energy in man, that which evolute a person. Evolution is not just growing our body, but also the cosmic levels in our body. So practicing asana stimulates the chakras, disturbing the generalized energy of Kundalini all over the body. So this asanas helps us to distribute this Kundalini energy which is evolving through all over the body. And to be frank, there are 35 kind of asanas. There are specific asanas only designed for this Kundalini Shakti awakening, to awaken Jagruta, to awaken this Kundalini Shakti. There are 35 postures. For example, chakrasana. So when you do this chakrasana, it awakens. Not just doing the chakrasana. If you master the chakrasana, you might awaken your Manipura chakra. Manipura chakra, which exists in your abdomen. By doing Sarvangasana, if you master the Sarvangasana, you might awaken the Vishuddhi chakra, that which exists in the throat. If you master the Shirshasana, the headstand, Shirshasana, you might awaken the Sahasrara chakra, the final, the topmost chakra, which exists on the crown part of your head. So that's how the main object of Hatha Yoga is to create a balance between the interacting activities and process of pranic and mental forces. The pranic forces and mental forces. So Hatha Yoga says that you have to balance these things, then only you can lead a proper life. So once this has been achieved, the impulses generated will give a call of the awakening to Sushumna Nadi. Sushumna Nadi, which exists in the center on the spine. The location of Sushumna Nadi is existed in the spine. So the energy levels always go from the lower to higher level. So the Mooladhara to Sahasrara. So once this thing achieved, as I told, the balance between the interacting activities like pranic and mental forces, it will give a call. It will dial there. Yes, Kundalini Shakti, come on, get activated, go up. It starts to go, rise up from the Sushumna Nadi to the top. So Sushumna Nadi is also called the central pathway of spine, through which this Kundalini Shakti ascends. Ascend means it goes up to Sahasrara chakra, thereby illumining the higher centers of human consciousness. There are many states of human consciousness. So these asanas will activate the Kundalini Shakti. If you do proper and regular practice in the traditional way, you might have a chance to awaken. You will never know. Once you know, there is nothing need to know again. So I have seen some people while doing some postures, they say, I can feel it is activating, my Manipura chakra is activating, my that chakra is activating, my this chakra. You can't describe the activating of or the awakening of any chakras. Only you can experience, which are indescribable in words. Where rishis have been tried a lot of things and came into that last thing. If you describe it, then it's gone. It is something, a different level of experience only which you can experience by practicing it. Then what is the connection between Yogasana and the body-mind connection? Mostly we say mind is different and body is different. Okay, I'll put it like this, that mind and body is not different. They are not two separate entities. The grosser form of the mind is nothing but our body. The subtle form of the body is nothing but mind. So mana mind yokka grosser level and sukshmamainadi ఏది అంటే మన శరీరం. మన శరీరానికి అతి ఉన్నతమైనది ఏది అంటే మన మైండ్. ఇది the practice of asana integrates and harmonizes the two. So ఈ asana practice చేయడం వల్ల, by practicing these asanas, it brings the harmony, the level, it gives balancing between the mind and body. Normally both the mind and body harbors, they possess some knots, bandhanalu, some blockages. Every mental blockage corresponding physical muscular knot may be reversed, vice versa. But the aim of asana is to remove those knots and to release those knots and let the prana flows, let the balance begin. And it gives the balancing process in your body. For example, if the emotional tension, suppression, and kind of tighten of your neck, and most of the things, blockage of your lungs and diaphragm, these are related to some breathing process, where if you feeling these things, that means there is a blockage with your pranic body. But the asanas help to release those blockages. Then there are muscular knots like the tightness on your neck, back, spondylitis, or face neuralgia, pain kind of things. The asanas help to release these things from there.